environment are you growing up in? Is it prosperous, supportive? Does it nurture you to achieve the things you want and be the man or woman that you want to be as well, right?
What single piece of wisdom would you leave to your daughters?
Yeah, I've spoken about this sort of question to them many times, right? It's like, dude, it's pretty simple for me. If I was to die, there's one gift I would like to leave them, and that would be the ability to resolve issues, right? That's it, man. Nothing more, nothing less, because I think if they can resolve problems and see obstacles as opportunities, man, they're going to have a great life. So that's the one lesson I'd like to leave them with, is to leave them with the ability to resolve issues.
When hiring someone, what is your make it or break it question?
Well, there's a few, right? Hiring people is challenging for all of us, by the way. No one's fucking good at it. It's really difficult because people are really good at lying. In interviews especially, it's like it becomes their superpower. So I do one simple thing. Normally before an interview, they'll send you a resume, right? Read the resume. And I look at the resume, how they've formatted it, how they've sent it through, what words they're using. I look at their education. Are they formally or degree qualified? When did they leave high school? What are their majors and minors during their education process? I go to that first. And then I look if they've bounced around, right? Have they bounced from job to job, year after year after year? And then I compile all this data in them. And that normally takes me just a couple of minutes, and I'll write down a couple of notes. And then I go, when they're at the interview, I'm candid with them, right? It's like, can I ask you a question? Why have you moved around so much in your career? Like, just be candid, be to the point. Because if you're going to hire them and they're going to lie to you in the interview, man, and you hire them, man, that's so risky. I also highlight things in the interview where they use words like successful and I was the top performer is another phrase that people use. And I did this and I did that and I achieved this and I did that for the company. So I highlight those things and I ask them to unpack it for me. And if they can't do that, what they've written on paper and provided in the first instance is not true. So I don't really have specific questions, right? Maybe there's a couple of questions I might say is ask them, what's your biggest strength and what's your biggest weakness? And it's not because I want the answer to it. I just want to see how they react to it. Physically how they react to a hard question like that. And it tells me something about their tone. So, but I don't, so yeah, look, I guess long story short, I don't have a direct questions. I think every candidate's different. And I like to start from what they've told me and see if what they've told me is true and accurate. That's where I go.
So in saying that, what are 3 qualities you look for when hiring someone?
Intelligence, skill, and I think they just need to resonate with the business, right? It's like, do they fit? And I don't know, people say, do they fit the culture? I don't know whether that's the right way to phrase it. I actually don't know what is the right way to phrase it, but I mean, do they resonate like with the team? Will the team accept them? Will they fit into the team? Because one thing that I've learned over the years is that sometimes it's not about the culture of the business. It's about the team they're about to walk into, right? How will the team perceive them? Can they gel with the team? Can they work as a team player? Because culture is company-wide, but a team has its own individual vertical culture, right? So depends on the people in the team. So that's a long answer to a very short question.
So what percentage of your business's success comes from luck and what comes from skill?
Well, yeah, it's a bit weird. I think it's all skill. I think luck is bullshit, and I don't believe in it at all, and never have, right? I've never been lucky. So that's my experience in life. I've never been lucky. I've always had it pretty hard. And then when I say that, I think, well, shit, stop. I should have a little bit more gratitude. But that said, I don't believe in luck. I think luck is bullshit. I think it's more about work ethic, and opportunity, and identification, right? Identifying critical opportunities in your life and grabbing hold of those, man. Like, I think that's what it's all about, and I don't think it's luck. The second part I'll say to that, though, is there's a part of our brain called the reticular activation system, right? psychologically and chemically, when you're in the need for something, your brain will see it, and when you're not, it won't. To a point, they call that complacency. So it's a scientific definition of what complacency looks like, is that when you do things over and over and over again, people say, oh, you become very complacent. And you sort of do, because you don't see anything outside of that. So you don't look for innovations, right? So, for example, if you woke up in the morning and your fridge was busted and there was water all over the floor and all your food had gone off, what happens when you jump in the car and drive to work? What do you think happens? All you do is see advertisements on billboards for fridges, right? Or you hear ads on the radio for fridges. They were always there, by the way. You drove past it 500 times in the last 6 months, but you've never noticed it. So to a point, that's a scientific definition of what I think luck is. I don't think it's random, like the gods of luck have shone upon you. That's bullshit. I think you get to see things when you're ready. It's like they say, the master appears when the student is ready. I think it's a bit like that.
So when are you going to have AI integrated into your business?
Well, we're integrating it right now. Like, dude, a little bit of a story. When Sam Altman and OpenAI launched ChatGPT in November 2022, man, I was all over it like a fat kid in a donut shop, right? Man, dude, I was all over it. And I was excited about it. I knew it was coming down the pipeline, and I was on it basically the day after, or maybe 2 days after that. And then I remember when I first used it, there was a big smile on my face, and I almost fell off my chair. And I knew then everything is going to change. Everything is going to change. So I started learning and getting prepared for it, right? So what are we now? We're exactly a year, right, from when ChatGPT was launched. Happy anniversary, Sam. So dude, since then, it's in most parts of the business. I was just saying to the general manager the other day is that everyone's using ChatGPT as a large language model right now, 100%. But I now have 6 people in the business, including myself, using GPTs, right? So pre-coded applications. We're using plugins and APIs and all that sort of stuff now, right? I have 6 or 7 of them on my own platform that I use for things. So we're starting to build things, and I've instructed people that they have a responsibility to go and learn AI, certain components of AI, which I've given to them, and they need to figure out how they're going to deploy it into their area. So I said to them, I want 2 hours every day. I want you to stop. I want you to watch YouTube videos. I want you to check in with OpenAI. I want you to practice, and I want you to play around with it. So we're all over it, and it'll be in every component of the business in great depth in under 12 months from now, 100%. So we will be one of the very few businesses in our space in this country, in Australia, that will be operating and leveraging AI to its full capacity in 12 months, 100%. I think I just said 100% like 4 times. That's sort of how, that's how passionate I am about it and how important I think it is, 100%.
Is there a book that has changed the way you live? And if so, what is that book?
Yeah, there's been heaps, man. There's been a lot of books. One of the very first books that changed my life was a Dale Carnegie book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mind you, that said, I've heard so many people tell me that was a book that changed it for them. So there's those foundational books in society, right? Over a very short history in my life on this planet. So that was one of the ones. And the only reason, because it was the only book of its time that came out and it was popular, right? So I think you just leverage or gravitate towards what's popular. But that said, it was an amazing book. And Dale Carnegie is an amazing entrepreneur. But there's been many books since then, man. Like Ryan Holiday's book shifted me quite a bit. Even Goggins, right? David Goggins, man, when I read his book, that was pretty awesome. So there's and those are recent ones, right? Cardone's book I thought was pretty good. Hermosi, Crush It, you know what I mean? Like Vaynerchuk's book. So there's been so many, but now I think it's more about podcasts and so now the question would be, it's not about a book, it's probably more about is there a belief, right, that is changing, is commercially changing and personally changing, which there is, which I'm sort of onto at the moment, going through another phase of leadership and development psychologically in my brain, and that's using communication and leadership and acquiring talent to scale. So I'm trying to figure that one out. But is there a book? Look, Carnegie was the first. There's been many books since, so it's really hard to pin that one down, dude.
If you could give yourself one piece of advice 10 years ago, what would that be?
Move. And what I mean by that is I should have moved overseas sooner, because I think first thing, it depends, right? What environment are you growing up in? Is it prosperous, supportive? Does it nurture you to achieve the things you want and be the man or woman that you want to be as well, right? You know, what are your parents like? What socio-demographic do you live in? How much money do you have? What sort of access to education do you have? So you got to consider all these things, right? Now, if all of that's on point, what I'm about to say may not be completely relevant, but for me, it was I should have moved sooner rather than later. And what that means is I didn't move hometown until I was 24. And I wish I had done it as soon as I left high school, I'll be honest with you. Because I think those first critical years as you move into adulthood are so important. Not to say that I had a bad experience. Like, you know, the guys that I grew up with were awesome, man. And they still are. But I didn't have any open doors or access to people that would sort of, you know, help me sort of go to that next level. So I think you got to move and seek opportunities that will do the best thing by you and your family. You know, if you're young, it's just you, of course, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever. But sometimes moving environments is the biggest altering life change when you're young, right? To my daughters, that doesn't mean you two though. You guys just stay put. But yeah, I think that's what it is, man. It's pretty simple, right? It's not complicated. I think you need to. What's that saying? You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Go and find those 5 people. Yeah, and they're not living next door to you when you're at high school.
A few Australian companies have trialled the 4-day work week, no changes to pay and benefits, only reduced work hours, and have permanently adapted to this. How do you feel about this? Do you see yourself moving in this direction at all?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Tim Ferriss. By the way, look, the 4-hour work week, right? This is where I think it's come from. You're not getting anything done in 4 hours a week. It's bullshit. You can't outsource everything. It just doesn't work, man. That said, okay, this has obviously come from someone who works in the team. A 4-day work week, yeah. Look, post-COVID, things have changed, right? And I think flexibility is important. I think companies need to look at it and evaluate it for what they do, who they are, and where they're located. You know, talent's a big part of that. I think we're decommissioning a certain type of person in our business to other states in the country because there's just a talent shortage in the city that we reside in. You know, so that's a logistical and technical decision. For those people to move to a 4-day work week, more than it's just about results, man. Whether it's a 4-day work week or a 5-day work week doesn't matter. But what's the result, right? If the result's there, then that's okay. The only thing is, technically, if you have customers who don't do a 4-day work week, who's speaking to the customers? You know what I mean? Because then there's a whole work day where the customers might want to call in and speak to somebody, and there's no one there to take the call. So do you rotate it? That's probably the best thing to do. Where, you know, there's a rolling sort of system. Look, I don't know. I think each company has to evaluate it for who they are and what their SOP looks like. But it's neither here nor there for me because I'm just focused on results. And the cycle of how we get there is a little bit redundant as long as it meets policy and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I don't really have much to say about it. 4 days, 5 days. But think about the customer if anyone's thinking about doing that.
What is your favorite quote?
What's my favorite quote? I have a few actually. I saw one the other day which I sort of liked. It's not my favorite one, by the way, but I'll voice it. It said, "Fall down 7 times, stand up 8." How cool's that, man? Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. I like that. I thought that was pretty impressive. To me, a quote it's got to have a lot of simplicity, right? Simple, man. It's really, and not airy fairy. I'm a bit of a stoic, right? So I like a strong quote, but my favorite quote, come on now, is a Marcus Aurelius quote, which is "The obstacle is the way." That's I built my life upon that. Well, hey, that's a bit dramatic. I haven't built my life upon it, but it's something that I lean into a lot, man. So when I'm struggling and I come up with a challenge, I run that quote through my brain, and it helps me focus. So it's and I think the true meaning, of it is what stands in the way becomes the way. So that's what Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations. I might be paraphrasing slightly, but that's pretty close to it. And I think Ryan Holiday maybe also paraphrased it to "The obstacle is the way," right? Which is a book he wrote, which I think is amazing. And it's like that thing I said about my daughters, right? It's like, dude, if I can teach them to resolve issues, that's the greatest gift I could ever give somebody. And that quote is wrapped around that. Like, so how can our biggest challenges be our biggest opportunities? How can you fix it and turn it around to work for you? So that's what it is.
If you could have any job apart from the one that you already have, or being a business owner, what would
Drummer for Motley Crue. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Sorry, what was the question?
Just that. If you could have any job, what would it be apart from the one that you already have?
Yeah. Well, first thing is drummer for Motley Crue. Sorry, Tommy, you're out, dude. Or Foo Fighters. No, I'm just joking. Well, I always wanted to be a musician, right? I think playing drums is awesome. So that would be my first thing. Not to be a rock star. No, I don't want to be a rock star, man. That's the last thing I want. But imagine getting paid shitloads of money to tour around the world and play music to people who just fucking enjoy the shit out of it. So that would be my first thing. But when you come down to planet to the real world, I think being a father is pretty awesome. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's probably been the best thing. That's probably been the best thing for me. You learn a lot when you're a father, and you've got to look after a couple of little yous, right? Little mini-me's running around. Who are bobbing their head when they're children and have no fucking idea what they're doing. So you got to give them guidance and support and walk them through the world as best you can. So that forces you to learn. So it's quite a win-win situation. So outside of that, I've always been an entrepreneur. So running a business is pretty cool. Making money is pretty cool. And again, it's not about the money. To be honest with you, I don't really care too much about the money. But what I care about is what I could do with it, right? Employing people to help them strive to be better and buy a house and give them guidance and build cool things to contribute, man. That's pretty cool. So I'm pretty happy about where things ended up. Yeah. So Tommy, it's all good, dude.
You're safe.
Yeah, you're safe. Yeah.
And for our last question, what has been the most significant learning experience for you as a CEO?
As a CEO?
Well, a CEO and founder.
Yeah, CEO and founder. They're two slightly different things, right? They're two slightly different verticals, but I'll wrap them all up in one. Yeah, leadership, man, is challenging, dude. It is very, very hard because I think there's so much to learn in it, right? Like I had a CEO because I didn't believe that I could be a CEO. I can be a founder, and I think founders are pretty rough around the edges. They punch pretty hard. They run really fast. They're quite innovative. And they're getting shit done, right? CEOs need to slow the founder down and put it into a way that can be monetized and settled into a standard operating procedure. So I'm more of a founder than a CEO, but I've been the CEO now for maybe a year, or maybe just under a year. So I'm learning to settle. That's why I've been talking about candor and empathy, right? Because I think a CEO needs to be that. So if I need to be that, I'm going to learn that. That'll influence me personally, which is cool. No one ever said, learning empathy and candor ruined my life. That's not, people don't say that. So, I'm pretty pumped about that. I think that's pretty cool. Look, I still punch pretty hard, but But one of the biggest lessons is leadership, man. Like just really unpacking and understanding what that looks like, man. Dude, it is so complex because leadership is different for everyone. So, you know, leading by example, of course, all those standard foundational principles apply. But it's just more than that, man. Like you, especially in the 21st century, in 2023, 2024, and 25, right? As we bring in a new generation of young workers coming through, you know, as a CEO, I have to be aware of that and strategize for it, right? Because they think differently now. So, you know, you certainly have to change the way you view the world. But you still got to be focused on results because that's what a CEO is for. He's responsible for results, financial results, operational results, results overall. So you have to be everything to everybody because no one wants to be managed, man. Nobody. They want to be led. So you've got to become a leader. So that's the biggest challenge for me. Look, I hope you found something that you liked or that you think may work for your business. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button. We try to push out as much content and good content as we can. Really appreciate you watching.